Hi everyone, thanks for having me. Really pleased to be here. I did an engineering degree 20 years ago, and then I did a planning in town, a master's in town planning. I worked in like consultancy and the public sector, so that's my experience in the last 3.5 years, or 3 and 3/4 years. I've been working for Better Bankside. It's a business improvement district in Southwark. So I've got some slides too, and I'll just flash them up and we'll run through them really quickly. So yes, so I thought that was a really interesting presentation we just saw. I had a quick look at just some business count numbers, and I thought it might be helpful just to understand what are businesses, like what are Southwark businesses. So like the majority, we've got about, these are 2021 figures. We've got about 17,000 businesses in the borough. The vast majority are quite small, like micro businesses, 0 to 9 people. So the picture you see there, coffee at work, there's about 8 people that work in that shop, and they send coffee machines all over London to offices and people, and they service coffee machines. The bottom right picture, that's a picture of a business called Art Academy. They're actually a private college that teach people art, and they'd be a small business. They have less than 50 people working there. And then the business, the big building you see in the middle, that is where Omnicom are based. They're a massive, enormous advertising agency, international, thousands of people work there. So all 3 of these businesses are in the borough. And I guess I'm just showing you this because just to contextualize like the kinds of buildings they're in, I think that's really relevant to what we can do on a practical level. And in the bottom right corner, bottom left corner, I've got like the biggest sectors in the borough and the types of buildings they may be in. So the top one is professional, scientific, and technical. That's like consultancies. So yeah, most businesses would be in an offices, but obviously you've got, high streets are the lifeblood of our communities, and there's loads of things on the high street and lots of retail on the high street. And so then after that, I guess I just want to show you how we currently, and you've probably covered this in your conversations already, but how we measure carbon emissions for business for the borough. On the left, on your left, yes, that circle is the emissions in Southwark, and on the right are emissions just in that little pink zone where I work, called Bankside. And see these, so in my little area, there's not that much residential, so domestic emissions are quite low, and commercial emissions are quite high in that little bit. But in the borough itself, residential is a lot bigger, but still, I think it's useful to just show, if you took, most of the emissions come from buildings, and if you took away all the residential buildings, you still have like almost 50% of the borough's emissions come from industrial, public sector, and business premises. Obviously, these figures don't include construction, and I think that's important to note because there's a lot of emissions in construction, and that's another massive topic by itself, but we'll crack on with this with businesses for the time being. So I quickly want to tell you about my organization, what a BID is. It stands for Business Improvement District. There's about 5 in Southwark. You can see them in yellow in this map. So they don't have any powers to make any rules, but what they can do is raise money from the businesses in the area. So we have about 900 businesses in Bankside, and we charge them 1% of their rateable value. So it's an extra like little tax of 1% extra they're paying to us, and we spend that money for them. We get voted in every 5 years whether they want us our organization to continue or not, and we have a vision and a mission. So we want to be a positive agent of change in our community in Bankside. We want to bring innovation, environmental innovation, and I'll show you some of the projects that we do. We're a non-for-profit, And we can exist because of national legislation which allows bids. The risk is, obviously, I think I work for a good one, but there's no rules on us, so we don't have to be good. And I guess that's something just to hold in mind when thinking about this. There's not an obligation to have an environmental vision. So here's a quick, I know there's a lot to look at, just bear with me and I'll run through what you're looking at. So these are some of the environmental services that we've run. And I guess it's like in our area, we do like district level services. So with that money that we get from businesses, we've done projects around waste. So we've got 900 businesses and they can all choose their own waste provider. Now, what we said was, hey, let us do a procurement exercise where we look at all the waste providers in the market, see which ones have the cleanest vehicles. And instead of like a different vehicle coming to your street and picking up waste from different businesses, we can, choose one for the area and you can buy into that too. You can use them too. And in the top left corner, there's a little project where that's one of our little electric vehicles and one of our operatives kind of collecting waste. So the basic services bids do are normally street sweeping and paying for like security. So the Southwark Wardens, we co-fund the Southwark Wardens. The other things we do are that we've pioneered and thought about doing is on the bottom left-hand corner with our neighbouring bid, you can see those orange things. Those are coffee cup recycling spots. So that's a way of trying to think about this particular supply chain, coffee cups, which have a bit of plastic in them. They can't really be recycled in very many places, but we put these bins out and we collected the waste and we send it off to be recycled. We also work with local authorities and the GLA. So we've done things with the Business Climate Challenge, where we've helped businesses reduce their emissions. And we recently just taken a lease on 2 arches, where we are using that space to do waste consolidation and to think about something quite exciting called a Green Logistics Centre. So this is a test project. And this is where I spoke to loads of businesses in Bankside, took pictures of effectively of what you see here, of what people get delivered to their business. So here on the bottom left-hand corner, you see coffee cups. That's 1 week's worth of coffee cups at a cafe. That's another week's worth of sundries at an engineering firm in the middle. And what we're trying to do in this space on the top right-hand corner is put shelving and ask these businesses to, instead of getting 1 week's delivery from your supplier, order a month's worth. We'll hold it for you, and then we'll deliver it when you need it on a electric cargo bike. So this is a test project. It's never going to make any money for anybody, but if it gets big enough, it might equal out. But the idea is we put these services on so we can make the area cleaner, so we can have fewer vehicles running around the area.
Thanks, Amandeep. Just over a minute left.
Okay. So I thought it'd be interesting just to look at what stops us from doing it. I guess, we don't have the time to talk to everyone, but we try and talk to a lot of people. The cost of engagement is quite expensive, and I don't think we coordinate very well with other bids. So that's quite interesting. So we're all kind of doing our own thing, and maybe there needs to be a bit more coordination. And looking at the map, I've highlighted areas in green where there's, high streets and town centres in Southwark. And I'm not saying bids are the answer there, not at all. But what I am saying is collective action and working together to put these things on may be what's needed. The other important thing to note is in these areas, every area is going to have its own kind of business composition. So you might get a lot of one particular type of business in the area that need a particular service. So that customization can be really important. The last thing I want to just touch on is, which is not quite related, but I thought was important to think about, is the context the business works in affects the way it runs itself. So in central London, you've got the congestion charge, you've got ULEZ, and you've seen the first kind of businesses using clean freight to deliver services there. So, you're getting a lot more kind of food delivery on electric bikes, for example. The other kind of picture you can see here is B Corp. That's a certification. So it's kind of making a social context for, so, you know, if I'm a business and I want my suppliers to be a part of B Corp, because I know that's I know they've looked into their environmental performance and social performance. So that's just the last thing I wanted to say. Like, so I think a low carbon trading environment, be it a physical or social one, can create that sort of low carbon innovation. Yeah.